Welcome to this edition of AFMC PK's 5-Minute Fix, where we'll dive into the topic of multiple award IDIQ contracts. In today's environment, these contract vehicles can be a great way to stay agile and flexible.
Let's start with the basics. For most contracts, FAR Part 6 requires the government to promote full and open competition when soliciting and awarding contracts. This simply means that any responsible vendor in all of industry is eligible to compete for the contract. Now, full and open competition can also apply to a subset of industry, such as when setting aside acquisitions for small business, but the principle is the same. Any responsible vendor within that subset can compete for the contract. In full and open competition, the government posts its solicitation to sam.gov, companies respond with proposals, and then the government undergoes a very structured and lengthy source selection process. The process is highly regulated by FAR Part 15, the DoD source selection procedures, and other supplements. As a result of this lengthy process, the government typically awards one contract to a single vendor. Well, with that backdrop in place, let's show how a multiple award IDIQ is different. IDIQ stands for Indefinite Delivery, Indefinite Quantity, which basically means that the government doesn't know the exact amount nor the exact delivery dates of future requirements, whether services or supplies. You could select a single contractor to fulfill all these unknown requirements, but FAR Part 16 requires that contracting officers give preference to multiple award IDIQs, making single award IDIQs the exception. So instead of selecting a single source, you set up a pool of 2 or more contractors who will compete for future orders. We call these competitions fair opportunity selections to keep them distinct from the FAR Part 15 source selection process. And there's no limit on the number of contractors who can make up the pool. You'll find multiple award IDIQ contracts with dozens or even hundreds of vendors included. Once you have your pool of vendors, the rules of the game change. Now, instead of following the highly structured processes in FAR Part 15, FAR Subpart 16.5 grants contracting officers broad discretion in placing orders how they see fit. It actually encourages that requirements be kept to a minimum and streamlined procedures be used. Here are just a few of the other differences between the two processes. In FAR 15, the source selection authority is defined by regulations and is generally a high-ranking official. In FAR 16.5, the contracting officer is the decision authority by default. In FAR 15, cost and price and one or more non-cost or price factors must be evaluated, including past performance and small business participation. But in FAR 16.5, only cost price is mandatory. In FAR 15, there is a very structured process for corresponding with offerors. In FAR 16.5, interchanges with offers are allowed but not required. In FAR 15, if discussions were conducted, offers must be given an opportunity to submit a final proposal revision, but in FAR 16.5, this is not required. And finally, in FAR 15, all actions, regardless of dollar value, can be protested to the agency, GAO, and Court of Federal Claims. In FAR 16.5, the only protest venue is the GAO, and no protests are allowed for orders under $25 million, except in 3 cases. For more information about the FAR 16.5 process, the AFMC Fair Opportunity site is an excellent resource. The Guiding Principles document is a must-read if you plan to use FAR 16.5, and there are also templates, training, and resources to help your team. Your local Acquisition Center of Excellence should also be able to provide training and help you develop your fair opportunity proposal request. One final point is that you can't just jump into using FAR 16 streamlined procedures. If there isn't an existing multiple award IDIQ, someone will have to go through the lengthy FAR 15 processes to set it up. So where can you find existing IDIQs? While there is no comprehensive government-wide list, a great starting point is the GSA Acquisition Gateway, which lists over 300. Your local ACE or policy shop may have insight into commonly used vehicles as well. And if you're in the market research phase, asking companies directly via RFI which IDIQs they're part of is a great way to find new vehicles. Thanks for watching this edition of AFMC PK's 5-Minute Fix.